Welcome to Notebook LM 101, presented to you by the Instructional Technology Department here in EBR. We're excited to show you this tool today because it addresses one of the biggest problems that we as educators face daily, having too much information and not enough time to go through all of that information. So whether you teach kindergarten or even calculus, this is going to change your workflow and how you process all of your information. Does this screen look familiar to anyone? A million tabs open. You're trying to click through each one of the different tabs and remember where this information is and that information is. Well, Notebook LM is going to solve that problem for us by eliminating all of the guesswork, organizing our digital desk, and learning how to turn our curriculum into a podcast. So, in the next few minutes, the things that we want to go over is explaining the fundamental difference between a general LLM and a source grounded tool like Notebook LM. So ChatGPT, Gemini, that's a general LLM, is going to look over all sources on the whole internet. Notebook LM is only going to use your sources that you put into it. We're going to build a project notebook that centralizes PDFs, Google Docs, and research all in one interactive space. Automatically generates summaries and study guides from long documents in seconds rather than hours. Turn our curriculum into a professional audio podcast, which is the audio overview feature, so that you can listen to it on your way to school or you can even share it with your students. And we can use instant citations to verify every AI response against your original sources that you put in, ensuring 100% accuracy for your teachers, for your students. Okay, so first, before we jump into it, why? Why are we using Notebook LM? Why aren't we just using Gemini or ChatGPT? Those sources are general AI. They search the entire internet. Notebook LM only looks at your sources that you put into it. So think of it like a fence around your brain, and inside that fence you're going to put in all of your different documents, and everything that you put in is the only thing that this AI will spit out, so it only knows what you teach it. So now we're going to jump into how to build your very first notebook. I'm going to build my notebook based on Algebra 1. So I'm going to jump out of this presentation and hop right into a new tab. I'm going to go to notebooklm.google.com, and this brings up all of your notebooks. If you've never used it before, you're probably going to have to click the button that says Try Notebook LM, but just click that and it should bring you to a screen that looks similar to this, but probably not with all of these different notebooks that you already have. So to create your first notebook, you're going to go to Create New Notebook here or Create New right up here. Either one. Once you hit create, it jumps right into that untitled notebook, just like everything else with Google. It's going to be an untitled until you give it a title. So right now, before I give it a title, I'm going to start loading in some of my sources. So you can see you can upload files, you can upload links to websites, open up your Google Drive and place things in from there, or you can even put in copied text from a website and place it into this notebook. So because my example, we're going to use Algebra 1 for that, I'm going to start pulling in some of that information from my Algebra 1 curriculum. So I already have some things downloaded. Here you can see I'm going to put in the Algebra 1 teacher guide, and this is straight from the Great Minds curriculum. So I already have it pulled up here. I downloaded it from Great Minds curriculum. I can click on add sources here so I can add in something else. Now I'm going to go, I can put in the exit ticket for lesson 1, add sources again, and you'll continue this until you have all your sources. So I'm going to pause for a minute so that I can put in all of my sources, such as the curriculum guide, the pacing guide straight from the math department in EBR. All of that information, I'm going to add it in. Okay, now I have my sources all uploaded. You can see over here on the left side of your screen, all of your sources will be listed. You can always come back, click on add source, and add any other sources that you need. You will have right next to it what type of source it is, so you can see which things are PDFs. It has PDF written by it. Which things are YouTube links. You'll see that little YouTube symbol. And you'll see which things are just Google Docs or websites. So Google Docs looks like a Google Doc, and a website looks like a website. So now in your source library, you have all of this information, and it's not just reading it, it's storing all of this information and understanding each one of those sources in relation to each other so that it can build all of these different things that we have here in our studio. So right in the middle, that's your chat. So just like you would have with Chat GPT or Gemini, this is where you would start typing and asking Notebook LM your questions based on your sources. It gives you an overview of what everything is. So I didn't tell it this overview. It created this overview for me, saying that this teacher guide outlines a specialized support system for Algebra 1, Module 1. I didn't tell it to it. You see, I didn't even name it. It went in and it named it itself based on everything that I put here. It gives the timeline. It saw the pacing guide, so it knows that I had a timeline, and it also has all of those different supporting activities for independent practice and direct instruction. So now it gave me some questions that some sample questions that I can use to ask it, or I can put in whatever question I want. So I'm going to use one of the sample questions right now. How does the assessment data identify unfinished learning and guide targeted instructional support? It's going to read through all of those sources and give me an answer based on those sources. Now you see, if you go through, it tells you your monitoring and your pacing, talks about those flex days that's included on our pacing calendar, and even some standardized benchmarks that you can use for spiral questions. I can go in and give it another question. So I'll say, based on the pacing guide, what are the 3 main objectives for this week? After it reads my sources, let's see what it tells me. Because I use module 1 for my example here, Notebook LM realizes that today is January 22nd, 2026, which is much, much, much further away from August 11th to 15th when I was supposed to teach this. So it asks me to specify which week or date I am referring to. Then it goes through, it tells me what I should have done August 11th through the 15th based on what I put into this source. So I can't teach it right now based on the pacing guide that I gave Notebook LM. So I have my Monday and Tuesday breakdown, my Wednesday breakdown, all the way down to the primary goals that the students are working towards. If you notice here, they have these little grade citation numbers. If I click on it, it tells me where they're pulling this information for. So you can see it's pulling it straight from the pacing calendar. If I put it on number 1, if I scroll down to like number 6 and 7, it's going through exactly where it pulled that from. So it's the 4th source over here. So our 4th source here is that exit ticket. And here we have our mathematical practices. So it's telling me where it is pulling that information from. You don't have to worry about it just pulling in random information. Everything will be cited and it only comes from your sources. Now, one of the coolest things that I think Notebook LM has. And, that's just my opinion. But over here is all of the things in the studio that you can create based on your sources. I really, really, really like the video overview. So if I click this video overview, it's going to create a podcast style deep dive of that information. So imagine listening to your algebra unit highlights while you're driving to school or sharing this with a student who's absent. It's like a game changer for auditory learners, and it summarizes everything. I love podcasts, so this is why I love this one so much, because I don't have to read all of those sources now. It's going to summarize it for me in a podcast manner. So now my podcast has loaded. I can just click play.
Okay, let's be honest. If you've ever stared at a page of X's and Y's and felt that little bit of dread creep in, you are definitely not alone. Algebra I is this huge milestone, right? But for so many of us, it feels like hitting a brick wall. We've all figured out that just memorizing the rules doesn't really cut it. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at how modern algebra I is actually taught, with a huge focus on understanding why things work, not just memorizing how. First things first, let's start with the shared experience. Because I'm pretty sure we've all been there. Those classic algebra hurdles. It's one of those subjects.
So you can see it's AI. So of course it's going to have mistakes, and it's saying algebra I instead of algebra 1. But if we go through the video, you can see
Failure. They're more like little warm.
it's going to break down all of these sources into material or words that are easy to understand. So I'm going to scroll through a little bit so you can kind of see it.
The accent square the two. But that totally misses the point of what that little squared symbol actually means. This December, the whole plan really comes into focus. You can even see they block out time for review right before the midterm. The entire semester is this deliberate progression.
So you see, not only is it telling me about algebra, it's also tying it back to our EBR pacing calendar, so you know when you're teaching it and why you're teaching it then, and when you should go back to review before the end of the year. So now that we've put all of this information in, you see you can get back out of their studio by just clicking that, or back into the studio by just clicking that little button, so you can get back to all of these different things as the series progresses. So in the next videos, we'll be able to go through all of the different things that you can create, but you can see that it's very user friendly. All you're doing is adding your sources and asking your questions, just like you would do with any other AI tool. You just know where everything is coming from now. So some things that you can do to use this immediately, you can ask it questions like, rewrite this word problem from the exit ticket to be about basketball for all of my athletes. You can ask it to draft an email to parents explaining what you learned today so that they can have a general outline or some examples so that they can help their students at home. What it's doing is taking your curriculum and it's making it more flexible, making it be able to fit the needs of your students. That differentiation that we always hear about and we always talk about, this is making it so much easier for us to do. Some other things that we can do, we can summarize any one of our documents. We can have a guided Q&A. We can ask it questions like, what's the theme of this? And we can also take our transcript from our lessons and turn it into a quiz for students. So there's so many different uses, so many different things that you can do. In the presentation, I've included some starter prompts for you as a teacher, some things that you can go in and ask it, prompt it to type in. I use an algebra example today, but of course, you can take this to meet the needs of whatever you teach. In our next series, we're going to go in to some deep diving into lesson planning and content creation. So make sure you check out our next video in this series. Right now, all I want you to do is just practice. So go to Notebook LM, create a notebook, and just practice. Type in some of these examples. Go in and ask it to summarize. Listen to that podcast that it creates, and I'll see you in the next video.